10 millimeter versus 357 Magnum, and what we have today is the Winchester Defender ammunition. Now this particular box of 357 Magnum says PDX1 Defender, and the 10 millimeter does not, and that's simply because Winchester has dropped the name PDX1 as far as I understand it. And I bought this box about a year ago, so it still sports the PDX1 name on it, but it's going to be the same thing as your current Winchester Defender. This is just regular jacketed hollow point. It is a bonded bullet, and a 357 Magnum is rated at 1325 feet per second, so it's pretty low on the energy scale as far as rated velocity. Now the 10 millimeter is actually a 180 grain, and it is rated at 1240 feet per second, so it is a pretty stout round as far as the rating goes on this velocity, but we'll never know until we actually chronograph it. So that's what we're going to do. Run it through the chronograph, see what kind of velocity and accuracy we get at the same time. And then as always, we're going to go through the Juggernaut box, which contains a 1 3/4 inch pack of bologna that kind of simulates like a pectoral muscle, covered by 4 layers of denim, followed by 1/4 inch medium density fiberboard that simulates like ribs or sternum, and then into water jugs to catch these bullets. And how this normally compares to ballistics gel is out the back of jug 1, we're talking about 9 inches. Back of jug 2, 12 inches. Back of jug 3, 15. Back of jug 4, 18 inches, and so forth. So let's get started with the test and see how the Winchester Defender does between 357 Magnum and 10 millimeter. All right, I'm about 5 yards from the target, about 4 yards from the chronograph. First up is the 357 Magnum and the Winchester Defender. We'll see how the 357 Magnum does for velocity and accuracy. 1303, 1318, no read, 1280, 1295, 1337. This is a pretty smoky round. A lot of blast sound, a lot of sound going on there, and not particularly high on the velocity scale for what we were actually getting with the recoil. Felt like we should have had a little bit more velocity for the felt recoil. Now let's see how the 10 millimeter compares. All right, 10 millimeter auto. Let's see what we get for velocity and accuracy. It's rated at 1240. Typically that's out of a 5-inch barrel. So let's see what we get. 1264. 1247, 1275, 1258, 1232. So I would say we are pretty close to that rated velocity, probably a little bit higher. Now let's hit the ballistic box and see how these two compare to each other. First up is the 357 Magnum, so we'll see what we get for damage and penetration. Just an interesting round of how much flash it actually has. So it has a lot of flash, not a lot of velocity, but what it actually did to the baloney pack was pretty extensive damage. It completely blew this whole thing apart. Really a lot of damage. It actually cracked the entire fiberboard. It really has a large hole through it, so that would indicate expansion through the baloney pack. So let's see what we got in water jugs. All right, first jug. This is a lot of damage, a lot more than I typically see with most cartridges. So that's pretty impressive. It looks like it's dumping its energy just really quickly. So we're probably not going to have a lot of penetration. Second jug, we went through it. We cracked the whole jug. Looks like the impact may be drifting just a little bit to the left. And I don't see any marks on jug 4. I really don't see any marks out the back of jug 3 either, so that's going to be less than 15 inches. Probably anywhere between 13 to 14 inches comparison to ballistics gel. And what we have is massive expansion, beautiful expansion. This looks really good. This is probably, that looks nicer than a gold dot, to be honest. A lot of sharp edges on it. Very good expansion. Now, if I remember right, I tested this a year ago in the snub nose and it didn't expand quite as well as this. So pretty good performance overall with low penetration. Not low, but not over penetration. Let's see how the 10 millimeter compares to this. All right, 10 millimeter, we had a lot more energy than that 357, so we'll see what we get. I'm not sure what hit me, but something hit me really hard in the head. But this is absolute destructive damage. It's going to take me a little bit of time to clean this up to be able to even show it. So first of all, I want to show this fiberboard. This is interesting. It appears that this particular fiberboard has been split vertically, like laminated layers of this stuff. I've never seen that before. Just massive amount of damage. That is incredibly impressive. So I'm going to try to pick up this baloney pack now. So this is what we have left of the baloney pack. Just massive amount of damage. I would not want to get hit with this for sure. So let's see what we got in water jugs. All right, first jug, definitely more damage than the 357 Magnum. That's completely just shredded this thing to pieces. Exit hole is very straight, as I would expect with a heavy bullet. And our momentum is just kind of trucking straight through without much deviation. A lot of damage in jug 2. Jug 3, there's a very large hole in jug 4. We went right through 3. I don't see any particular dents out the back of jug 4, but a big hole. So this is going to indicate anywhere around maybe 16 to 17 inches comparison to ballistics gel. And what we have with the 10 millimeters, we had so much energy that not only did it expand, but then it ripped the petals backwards. So even though it doesn't quite look as impressive as the 357, I would say it's definitely more impressive to be able to continue to rip these pretty solid petals backwards. So a whole lot of damage, definitely not over penetration. So comparing these two cartridges, the 10 millimeter was pretty good. It had a little bit of recoil, but it wasn't too bad, honestly. It was about like a 45 ACP plus P, not massive. But the 357 Magnum, it had about average recoil, but a lot less velocity than typical, with more sound and flash. So while the damage and performance, it did well, it did fine, and the recoil wasn't that bad, it just seems like its performance was a little bit low compared to the amount of flash and smoke and sound we were getting with that particular round. So between the two of these, I would say, well, it's kind of hard to say one's better or worse, but they both did pretty well. So that's what you get today between the Winchester Defender 357 Magnum and 10 millimeter. So as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.